Hi guys, my name is Ishtiaq Ahmed. I wanted to start this CCIE training program for the RNS track, routing and switching, just focusing on the different technologies that are required for the lab exam. So here's a brief introduction about myself. I'm on LinkedIn. Um, my background is I'm CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE in routing and switching. So fully aware of the technologies required in the lab exam. So I'm going to use Eve for the simulation, which is I think an excellent tool for simulating for the RNS and other tracks as well. So I've installed it on VMware Workstation 10, so it's pretty stable, and I use Firefox as the browser to control the labs. So this one will be starting with a very small layer 2 lab. So I like to start with layer 2 and then move on to layer 3 and so forth. So initially the labs are going to be small, but then get bigger and a bit more complex. So this one is pretty straightforward. Starting with layer 2 access switch ports. So I've laid the task here. The first one is just to configure these two interfaces, Ethernet 00 on switch 1 and 2, to be in the same subnet. So let's just start the labbing. So here's the switch 1, there it is for switch 2, and also it's there for switch 3 and switch 4. Right, so switch 1, here we are. Wait for it to kick in. Right, so these two interfaces are going to be in the same subnet on switch 1 and 2. So let's just get straight to it. So here we go. So we're configuring the Ethernet 00 interface. So let's just give it IP address 192.168.1.1/24. Shut it. Cool guys, so in the same subnet now we're gonna do the switch 2, the same interface Ethernet 00. So see interface Ethernet 0/0. So IP address. Right, let's give it the IP address 192.168.1.2. 2.1.2.2/24 again, and no, shut that. Right guys, just one thing I forgot to mention was, right, these two are layer 3 switches, so we can configure the IP addresses on these ports. These two are layer 2 switches, so we can't configure any IP addresses, so we're just gonna configure the VLANs on these ones. So these are gonna have the access switch ports, and then we configure these two as trunks, so we can communicate between these two switches, the layer 3 switches. So we've done the IP addresses on switch 1 and 2. Let's move on to switch 3 and switch 4. We're going to configure the the access switch ports, and then we get to the trunks. So let's go on to switch 3. Right, so the same port 0, 0 will be the access switch port. So we're going to assign it to VLAN 10. So if we just go switch port mode access switch port access VLAN 10 and no shut. Alright, let's just save in the config. Right, let's go on to switch 4. Let's configure the access switch ports first, and then, like I said, we go to the trunks. So show conf t interface Ethernet 0/0 switch port access switch port access VLAN 10 again, and no shutting. Cool. Right, so guys, now going back to our topology. So we've configured the IP addresses of these ports. We have configured these two as access switch ports on the layer 2 switches. So now let's just configure the trunk ports between these two access switches. Both ports, Ethernet 10 and 11, will be the trunk ports. So let's get back onto the switch 3. Trunk encapsulation .1Q. That's the encapsulation we're using for the trunks. .1Q and switchport mode trunk. And no shut them as well. Cool. So that's switch 3 done. Moving on to switch 4. Base range Ethernet 1/0-1 switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q we're using, and switch port trunk, and no shut it as well. Cool guys, so that's the configuration pretty much done. One good command to check whether everything is fine, all the connections are fine, show CDP neighbors. So we can see it's connected to switch 2. Trunk port still haven't come up. Let's just have a look. Right guys, one command that's excellent for troubleshooting show CDP neighbors, just to see all the connections are established. So you can see that switch 1 is connected to switch 3. Switch 2 is connected to switch 4, and switch 3 and 4 are connected to each other. So then back to switch 2. It's connected to switch 4, and switch 3 is connected to switch 4 and switch 1, and switch 4 is connected to switch 2 and switch 3. Here we are. So just checking the configuration that we've done. We have configured it this IP address, Ethernet 00, and we've configured switch 2 in the same subnet. So I'll show you just to check, configure it correctly, that's fine. Switch 3, we can check whether the VLAN is created, so show VLAN brief is a good command for that. we can see that the VLAN 10 is assigned on Ethernet 00, and switch 4 show VLAN 3. Again, we've got VLAN 10 assigned to Ethernet 00. You can also check the trunk ports, show interface trunk. You can see that VLAN 10 is active in the management domain, and we can check the encapsulation as well, L2.1Q. Same here, show interface is trunk. Right, so now just for the verification check, we should be able to ping switch 1 and switch 2 the IP address. So from switch 1 we should be able to ping the IP address switch 2 in the same subnet, so it should work. Let's just check it out. So ping 192.168.1.2. There we are, and from switch 2 we should be able to ping switch 1. There we are, guys. So like I said, a small lab just to test the waters, just to introduce you guys to Eve. And so we started with the layer 2 access switch ports. We worked with 2 layer 3 switches and 2 layer 2 switches. So I'll configure the IP addresses on the layer 3 switches, so Ethernet 00 on both switch 1 and 2. So switch 3 and 4 just have the access ports configured on the same interfaces 00 that are connecting to switch 1 and 2. And between these 3 and 4 we configure the trunk ports on 1011 to transport the traffic between the 2 switches so that we can ping from switch 1, switch 2 via the access ports. So guys, that's pretty much the end of the tutorial. So any questions, comments, please post them below and I'll answer as many as I can. And thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.